So basically that just really gives you an understanding of what happens at the school side, and then of course the previous videos explain what your role is. Now I always leave time for questions because there's always lots of questions. And what I do today is I just bring a sheet, and if you're interested, I bring a sheet. You just put your name and your email and your phone number, and then we go from there. Now a really improved website, you now get an email automatically that basically explains everything that you need to do to go to the next step. So I just would like to leave. I'd rather talk less and hear more questions because we always have lots and lots of questions. So any questions? Don't be shy, don't be shy. Yes. Oh, I wish I could answer in French. I can't answer in French.
You were saying about one of the GrandPals who's here at age.
Right.
Do you pair that up with any of the students that have had the same experience?
So do we pair up the individual student with a certain GrandPal? Basically what we do is we talk to the teacher, and the teacher, we talk about what kids would benefit, say, from a male GrandPal versus a female. Like maybe we had a boys group that the three of them didn't have a dad. So we thought that that would be a really good idea that they had a male GrandPal. So we try and work with the teacher on that. And that would be sort of, and that has made a huge difference. The groups are normally groups of 3. So does that answer your question, that how we sort of group different people? GrandPals can also say, I'd rather work with girls, right? I'm more comfortable working with a group of girls than I am with a group of boys. Does Alona go here? Alona? Was she at this church? Because I spoke to her. We had a GrandPal, and she ended up with, we had someone, a GrandPal, get sick at the very end, just before we were going to start. And I think she had a group of 4 or 5 boys, and she was an educator, but she loved them. We said, are you sure? But she had a lot of fun with them. So basically we try and do the best we can to put kids together with a GrandPal that's best suited, right? If we can, for sure. Great question. And normally groups of 2 to 3. Any other questions? No other questions? Yes, you do. So that's a great question. Thank you. Because people say, do I need, so in that original email that you'll get, it actually explains, it emails you a letter from the individual school that says, you know, Ann Fenton is going to be joining a program in the school at, let's say, East Gay Fax, a public school. And then it has a link that you can press that will take you right there. The days are gone. I used to love the days where I could walk in, give them my information at the police station, and 2 weeks later they'd call you and say, okay, we've done your police check. Now, and we're best friends with the lady that handles all of the police checks in Ontario, and unfortunately now it goes through a main website. So that's why we produce the letter from the school. You'll get a link. We try and make it as simple, and we help people too, because sometimes, as you can see with me and my new computer, sometimes it's a bit of a pain. So we help people through that. I think at the orientation, Nancy, where you were, we just had a computer and Mark was at the back, and we helped you step through to get your vulnerable sector check. And it's free. Yes, and yes, and Janet would help, and it's free. Yes. Sure. Right. Oh, yes. Oh. Okay, that's a great question, because that's happened. So let's say someone has the same name as you, and they... Right, right. that's happened where we had a GrandPal and he was involved for 2 years in a row, and someone had the same name, so that he had to get fingerprinted. So they thought that was quite funny because when he goes into the police station where he was, they treated him like gold because they said, George, we're really sorry. This is crazy, but when you have the same name as someone else that has an altercation, we just have to fingerprint you. So yes, but we'll. Yeah, so what you do is you go to your local station. Yeah, and we help you with that. And of course, we tried to have fun with that because George was the most wonderful, incredible man ever, but he thought it was pretty funny too. Right. Well, we're involved in that, right? So we help you through that. If you have because I have to tell you, not all those things run smoothly. And we've talked to, she's wonderful, by the way. I went to see her in Aurelia. We've talked to her. She said, Ann, I would agree with you. This is a pain, but this is the decision they made, and that's what they're doing. So that's why this is so important, and GrandPals is more this in everything we do with a personal connection, not online. That's why that's so important, right?
I have a question.
Yes.
How old is a senior?
Anyone from 50 to 96. We've had anyone from, if you're not working full-time, some people have worked part-time, but we've had 96-year-old GrandPals, and we've had 52-year-old GrandPals. So it really, it's wide open. I think the thing is they're not working full-time because it's too hard to, obviously you can't fit that in.
Oh, come on.
I love you, Janet. Any other questions about the program or what we do or comfort level, anything like that? And you can always ask me at lunch too, of course, if you're not comfortable doing that. Yes, I thank you for your questions. One of my ears is plugged, by the way, so that's why I'm coming to. I do. What a good question that is. I do choose the school, but if you have someone, we've had a lot of requests from GrandPals that their grandkids are, say, at a school. If you have a request of a school you'd like to run because your grandkids are there, even better, certainly let me know. But we choose a school because this program, if we find a school or teachers that love it, they right off the top they say we're in, right? In other words, and what's happening is that there's such good things coming out of GrandPals from schools. The word of mouth is great because they're saying, well, we'd like to do that too. That's how we got Aaron. We ran at East Gary, and the teacher said, we have to have it here. So really, I try and go and see the school and the principal and the teacher, and I work with the principal to say, what teacher would work best for this, and then we chat with them. Yes. Yeah. But if you have a school that we're not running it in, and you would like to check that out, or us to check it out, I'd be happy to do that. So we're wide open. It's across the country now too, right? So it started here, but Mark said, they're very humble, that it won the Governor General Teachers Award, which is the highest award you can win for a program in a school. So it's now across the country, which is kind of exciting too. It's been around it's 9 years this year. Yeah. So it's been a long time. What we have now and all the materials is amazing compared to where it started. And that's all done by Mark too. So, because once again, we listen to feedback. We need this, we need that. Okay, we'll create that. Or could we shorten this up? Sure. Because if you're not happy, the program doesn't work. That's the most important thing to remember. Yes?
Excuse me, after you've been involved with that school, you become a GrandPal to a student. Once the program is over, the GrandPal and the child is still allowed
That's
to.
a great question. Yes. And that's what happens. So, and that permission goes through the parents. Yes. Now, the one they showed at Montgomery Village, of course, the kids could walk in and drop in. But yes, we've had lots of people where there was a lady in the slideshow where she invited her kids and the parents over for lunch, or she would drop off a gift to her on her birthday. So yes, because it's about building relationships, right? And when you spend that time with kids, they get to know you pretty well. And you know, there's some extraordinary stories that came out of what happens that you never expect. One, I have to say this one, and then Nancy, you have to make sure you give your spiel. This boy was in a group, and because GrandPals say, "What am I allowed to share? What's okay?" Well, we always say it's what you're comfortable with sharing. We're not going to tell you what you can or can't share. Obviously, all the GrandPals know it's appropriate, but this gentleman had come through Alcoholics Anonymous, one of the GrandPals, and he actually became a Christian through that. And he shared a piece of that because it had a huge impact on his life. Well, this young boy that was in the class was quiet the whole time. And he listened the whole time, didn't say much throughout the 8 weeks, you know, obviously trying to draw him out. And so when I was there one day helping proof their stories, and I know the kids there pretty well, I said, "So tell me, why did you pick this story? What is it about the story that grabs you?" And he said, "Well, this is my mom. My mom's been through this, and that gives me hope, Miss Fenton." Well, I almost started to cry. And of course, I flagged that with the teacher that that's a pretty important thing to know about. And I don't know if the teacher knew that. So what happened there was this student now could write a story about what's happening in his life because of what the GrandPal said about how he came through it and how it changed his life that he came through it. That's the kind of deep learning. And it's awfully hard to me explain that, you know, when you're doing the presentation, but thank you for that question because that ties in, right? About keeping in touch. So thanks. Now they're good. They've got more questions.
Is Mark still teaching, or is he too busy with this? And if so, what school?
Well, isn't that interesting? So Mark has a lot on his plate. So he runs GrandPals. They started their own school in Orangeville. It's called By Design, so it's one of the schools that runs it. And then he still works for a piece of the puzzle in the Upper Grand, like a section of time. And they have 4 kids.
And is he teaching in a school still?
He teaches at By Design, which is their school.
By design.
Yep. And you should check it out. It's a great school. It's in Axe, so the facility they've rented is within Axe. But they'd love you to go and see if you have kids or grandkids. And then he also works part-time for the Upper Grand still. Yeah, he's busy. Yes.
How old are the kids that we get?
Okay, so normally grades 6 to 8, and we had mostly 6, 7s this year. And the reason for that is that at that level, they can certainly, they're learning the skills in school and curriculum-based of what they can do to write a good story and how to, you know, communicate, whatever. It's a lot harder for younger kids, so we found that 5 to 8 works the best. We have mostly intermediate classes this year too, which is great. And if you know any intermediate kids, it's a wonderful time for you to come in and build that relationship with them because that's you know, they're going through puberty. There's lots going on in their lives, I guess, is what's happening. Yes?
Are there any plans to take this to an older level? You've kind of explained why the younger level age group in 10 years.
Yeah, in other words, younger than, right, so younger than grade 5? Sorry, say that again. Well, high school would be great. It would be really good. The high schools there's just a lot more to work with there because of the change of schedules and the semester system and when they change classes and does the same. One thing for you, once again, we stick to the same time for you. So we tell you ahead of time, if your commitment's going to be an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half once a week, we stay at that time. We never change it. Why? Because you have a schedule, GrandPals are busy. In high school, that becomes a little more challenging. But we're always open to that. I'm not sure if they've got any high school out like across the country, but traditionally elementary so far. I'll ask Mark that though. So do you want to add in anything, Nancy? And then you have other questions because I don't want to. Nancy was a fantastic GrandPal, and she helped us out when someone was sick. So you did 2 schools, and
In for a pound, in for a penny.
she was fantastic. Yes. So it's better to hear from here than it is from me. I'm gonna turn my mic off.